to everyone listening across the world, and welcome to the first edition of the innovative Talk Sex to Me podcast, sponsored by Emma's Sex Store and presented by me, Aida D. Because today is the first episode of our new and groundbreaking podcast, I want to take a moment to get to know each other before we begin our talk with our special guest for today. As I previously stated, my name is Aida, and I'm presently working as a sex blogger and book author for Emma's Sex Store. As a result of various projects in our team so far, a desire to get closer to you, our listeners and beloved viewers, arose, and as a result we decided to create a channel of communication through which we will have the opportunity to get to know each other better, to exchange opinions with our various guests, and to see their perspectives on the trending affairs related to sex, relationships, various human sexual qualities, and colorful identities. And we will do all of this while still overcoming the conservative shield of societal stigma, stereotypes, and whole lot of biases when it comes to anything sexual nowadays. We chose to create a secure and stimulating environment in which no issue is off limits, no question is unneeded or unwanted, no mindset is undervalued, and we are all treated equally and with complete respect, regardless of how different we are from each other. Our podcast will cover a wide range of issues connected to basic human sexuality, intimacy, connection, and partnerships in the future. But today we are focusing on that one that started it all. So this topic is actually about hookup culture, casual sex, and today's generation's short-term impersonal relationships. This issue is personal to me since it ties me to a project that my team and I are actually now currently working on at Emma's Sex Store, which is the creation of an ebook called Hooking Up Without Blame, a guide to shameless and healthy one-night stands, of which I am the author. This book will be our closest confidant in conquering all of our restless emotions about sex, and it will show us that love and sex are basically two completely different things, and that we may be sexually content without having a permanent companion by our side. And it is on this topic that we begin our podcast today, with one of my very dear and closest friends as our honored guest tonight. Armin is 25 years old and self-identifies as a homosexual young man who, believe it or not, is not a huge lover of hookup culture. So in tonight's episode, there is unexpected twist, let's say. Armin claims that in order to have sex with his partners, he has to have a bit more serious connection with them. I, on the other hand, believe that casual sex is just as natural as any sex with full of emotions and connections. But tonight's debate will find a middle ground and a compromise between Armin and me. Thank you for coming here, Armin, and please tell our listeners something a little bit about yourself.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Aida, for introducing me and welcoming me on your first ever podcast. It's a great honor to be your guest.
Thank you.
Yes, you pretty much did most of my introduction, but yes, my name is Armin. I am 25 years old. I finished college and I work as a speech pathologist in an elementary school. Regarding my sexual orientation, I identify as a homosexual ever since my 13 years, and I've been sexually active since I was 19 years old.
Amazing. So when it comes to hookup culture, how would you identify yourself? Are you a part of it, or are you not in any way engaged in it? I know that I introduced you as not a huge lover of hookup culture, and that is a fact about you that I know. We talked about this many times before. But have you ever had a situation where you just met a guy who you really wanted just to fuck, like without any more serious or deeper connection than that?
Yes, I have actually, and I I do practice casual sex from time to time, but it's not something that's occurring in my life continuously. I wouldn't say I'm strongly against hookup culture, but I'm not a big fan of it. That's how I would put it. I mean, it varies depending on my mood and depending on my mental health at that state and emotional, of course, state. But yes, I have had casual sex in my life, and it was pretty much every time that I wanted to. I really, from my experience, I really controlled that.
Okay.
It was really all in my control. It wasn't something that was like that I was put in an awkward or uncomfortable situation. That never happened. It was always consensual, and it was always mutual pleasure, and it was always a nice thing to have. But I prefer to have a more deep and meaningful connection with someone.
Okay, so you said that it only depends like on your emotional mood or state of mind, on your mental health and your current life situation. So what are the factors that you need to have in order to have casual sex with someone?
Well, that's an interesting question. First of all, I think that in my case, have to really have that self-love.
Okay.
I have to really have self-love in order to even be confident and comfortable with having casual sex with either strangers or some acquaintances. I do feel like it's not just about me, it's about the other person and how I feel connected to that person. I still think that in order to have casual sex, you still have to form some sort of a communication and connection, of course.
Of course.
It shouldn't be like out of the blue, just like, I don't know, hello, and just, I don't know, a casual blowjob. No, that's not how it happens. But yeah, I mean, from in the past 2 years, I didn't feel like the need to have casual sex, and I couldn't even physically do it because I think my mental health stopped me. There are some other factors, but those are not the key factors for me for my decision to have casual sex.
Okay, so that's a good point because during my writing of the upcoming book named Hookup Culture Without Any Blame and Guide for a Shameless and Healthy One-Night Stands, when I did my research, I actually had one question that came up to my mind, and it was what actually distinguished casual sex from being a negative experience to being completely positive and rewarding experience. And it all came back to that positive attitude that one person has to have before engaging in some like activities. And that's something that you are actually talking about right now, because it depends on your mood and your mental health and your self-love. So that attitude and state of mind that is healthy for you is actually a golden ticket for you to have any connection with other people, not just in sexual manners. And for our listeners, I just want to explain for those of you who are not well aware of what casual sex actually means and stands for. Casual sex is a sexual experience that we have with other people without any deeper connection. So it's basically a soul scholar definition of one night stand. We meet a person, we have to have some, like you said, some conversation, some introduction before we engage in any sexual activity, but it only ends that night or that day, depending on when we have sex and with whom we have sex. So I want to hear more about your previous casual sex experiences. So you had them, but you're not an ally for casual sex. So what about now? How do you feel now in your life, in your current life situation and in your mental health? Would you do it again? And for what reasons?
I think I would probably do it again, but as of right now, my my viewpoint on it is that I can't have it. I mean,
why not?
Whether it's my mental limits that I put on myself or something else. I mean, in my in current years, I have been looking for love, as you say it, or
romance,
like romance, yes. And I think that the romance is the key part that I look for in a relationship, and I think that casual sex kind of beats the romance part, ignores it. There is not
it's
much
not
romance.
A part of casual sex.
There's not much romance there. There's not much emotions
There's
there.
not any romance.
Well, yes, and also like from my past sexual experiences regarding casual sex, of course, I found myself in situations that either myself or the other person was getting emotionally attached.
Okay.
Which wasn't something that you actually look for in casual sex.
So would you call that a rising of emotions? Is that a benefit or is it a drawback of casual sex? Because when I was writing my book, I actually put that in both of different ways. It could be a positive thing, but it also could be a very negative thing. It depends on with which attitude we confront our casual sex partners. Exactly. And what do they want from us. So, it's a good thing that you mentioned it, because in rising of emotions, on which side were you?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I agree with you. I think it can benefit both factors. I mean, the emotional relationship and the casual sex, and it can be against casual sex and for. Well, for example, I don't know, like, I think, in my opinion, sometimes emotions kill that casual sex part, if you know what I mean. Yes. I don't think casual sex as a concept benefits from someone having emotions.
Of course.
Because if you're going to have casual sex, then it should be just that. It should be casual sex. But on the other hand, if something deeper grows out of it, that's not a bad thing. If both people want that.
Yes.
If you understand what I mean. But I think that the first starting point for casual sex is that you don't want anything else.
Okay.
So it just depends on what it's individual, and it just depends on what two people want for it to grow out of that.
Yeah. In order for us to have a healthy mindset, and regarding the impacts that casual sex could have on our mental health, what do you think what those are? What are the positive impacts that we gain from that experience? And what are some negative factors that could possibly or potentially ruin our state of mind, our psychological well-being, and everything related? Okay. So in your experiences, what were the positive and what were the negative impacts of casual sex experiences or partners that you had sex with?
Well, yeah, I mean, the positive part of casual sex is definitely letting some steam off, I mean, getting off. All of those physical things are actually a really good benefit. If you want to have sex and if you're horny, then you should probably go and have sex if you have the opportunity. So in my experience, I had, I guess it could be said as a friends with benefits experience, where I had a friend who was really, we were really close. I mean, not too close, of course, for it to develop emotional connection, but we were close enough and comfortable enough with each other that we could have casual sex from time to time, just so we could, like, help each other out
with what?
In a way.
I'm sorry, with what?
Well,
in what way were you helping each other?
Well, actually? Of course, jerking off, blowjobs, anal sex, everything. We did everything. And it was even better. I found that casual sex was one of my best experiences sexually, because I could communicate with that person. That person knew me, and I could communicate with that person in ways like, oh, can you do this? Oh, can we switch positions? Can we do that? Can you be more dominant? Can you be more submissive? It was all, that's a positive aspect. The negative aspect of it, in my opinion, that had an impact on me is maybe found in situations where I did know a person, but I felt like I was compensating for the loss of something that I wanted, and I used it I used casual sex just to compensate for the closeness, for the intimacy that I wanted from a significant other, which I didn't have at that point because it was really hard to find at that point of my life. So I guess and it then left some pretty damaged things, some scars in my psyche, where I was like, okay, I'm being used. I'm using
different people.
I'm using different people. Nobody wants me for something deeper than that. I felt objectified pretty much.
Yeah.
And then some of my first casual sex experience, which was a real life one night stand as you buy the book, which was not really that good. And I guess all of my opinions on that really come from that. I guess it wasn't really good. It was painful. I really didn't feel comfortable. I don't know. Like I don't blame the other person. I don't blame the guy. Of course, he was really being a gentleman and all that and considerate, but I'm not sure that I was fully aware and mature enough at that point to think what that could do possibly for me, which would lead me to running away from the casual experience, the sex experience, which is not something that you in the surroundings that I have, and especially as a part of a gay community, as a gay man, I don't think that's really beneficial for you, because you tend to, that's pretty much hookup culture is a pretty big part of the gay community, and it's really hard to find someone for deep and meaningful connections because everybody runs away from it. And then you're like, okay, well, yeah, fuck, I'm gonna be alone, and the only experience I'm gonna have with the guy is for him to use me. That's all in the mindset. It's all in the physical physical comfort, of course. I forgot the word, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's really what it comes down to.
So you explained that very well.
Thank you.
Very well. I had a lot of questions in my mind when you were talking.
Feel free to interrupt me, of course.
Okay, thank you. So the first question I have is, there is actually a lot of difference between friends with benefits and with casual sex partners. These two types of people have their own meanings in our life, their own values and their own influences on our well-being and our emotional and mental health state. When we talk about friends with benefits, as you said, that friend of yours that you mentioned, your fuck buddy, basically, you were able to communicate with your friend everything that you wanted to be heard, and you asked probably a lot of questions for is he okay with everything you're doing? Is he fine with your relationship as it is? And so on. But when it comes to casual sex partners, there is not much room for that communicating amongst each other. So there is not much room, because casual sex partners could be one night stands where we meet someone in a bar and up with them in a bed, and tomorrow we won't even remember their name.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yes, so negative influences on mental health. Do you think that they are more related to casual sex partners? And are positive impacts more related to friends with benefits? So what are the difference between these two types of people in your life?
Well, first of all, I would like to say something that came to mind while you were talking about it, is that casual sex can even be used as a coping mechanism. And some people who are not in the right state of mind, as a toxic coping mechanism, where they're like, oh, I just broke up, I feel really shitty, I feel really bad, I'm just gonna go and have sex with a stranger because I want to, I'm free, and all that, and then they just wake up regretting it. So I guess they use casual sex to overcompensate for something, but it just leaves them to be even more scarred, in my opinion.
Okay, so do you think that people who engage in casual sex experiences come from some place of trauma? Are there any negative situations that we had in our life that somehow lead us to have casual sex encounters or have one-night stands? Do people need to have some troubles in their life to engage in these types of encounters sexually?
Well, I don't think that, of course. I just gave an example of this specific situation. I do think that a big part, maybe, of people did have some trauma that leads them to have casual sex only, and to be like, I'm just not monogamous. I just want casual sex. I don't want any other connection, because then it gets you thinking, what are you running away from? I mean, I know that's not the case in everybody, and I do truly admire people who can actually have casual sex and are emotionally healthy in a right state of mind. They're like, I'm just gonna have fun, I don't care, which is a good thing. And I will always support that. But if you're just doing that so you could feel better about yourself, I don't think you should do that in a way that I don't think that will help you long term, if you know what I mean.
If you're looking for romance,
you should do that to feel better, but you shouldn't do that to feel better about yourself.
Okay, so in terms of psychological and emotional variables or motives, behavioral motives that drive us into these experiences, what do you think? What are the human-like motives that lead us to these types of encounters?
To be fair, I mean, I stated that it's being horny,
Okay.
it's sex drive, it's frustration probably sometimes. I know from work you get up, I'm tired, oh, I just need to blow some steam off. Of course, there is the aspect of masturbation, which we are not talking about. But
And we should.
yeah, and we should also talk about that. But like, I think that people, of course, sometimes you just feel bad about yourself. I feel ugly. Oh, I'm just gonna seek validation from my casual sex hookup booty call, or just go out in the bar and meet some stranger. Of course, alcohol sometimes helps. I sometimes find it best that alcohol is the best lubricant for something to happen.
Are these things related? I'm sorry for interrupting you. Are these things related? Because there are a lot of dilemma on the internet. While I was doing my research, I saw a lot of questions from strangers who guessed if alcohol really helps. Is that really a motive that drives us? Do we need to be drunk or somehow drugged into this experience? I don't mean that in a bad way, but we do need a few stimuli to help us.
I don't think it's like alcohol is not a motive. I think it's just an enhancer of your inner desires, of your animal instincts, of your inner desires that you want to have. I don't know, like you go on the bar, you see an attractive guy or a girl, and you're like, oh my God, totally want to rip off their clothes, but I'm not brave enough. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I should drink more. And then I'm gonna be brave enough. I mean, to be fair, in gay community, it's not that hard to have a hookup. It's not that hard to have a one night stand. Even you go out to, I don't know, like, at a gay bar and you're like, oh my, I'm just gonna dance and do my thing, and then some stranger walks up to you, start dancing and kissing, and eventually some things lead either to the bathroom of the club or to his or yours apartment, depending. And of course, like, it's even easier in the part of social media because we have Grindr, we have Tinder, we have all of these apps, all of these platforms, all of these apps that actually help us to have those experiences
wherever we are,
actually help us to have that platonic connection to someone, like oh, I'm just gonna send him a pic of me, either my face, either my body, depending, and he's gonna send me a dick pic, of course, and all that, which is something that I personally don't find attractive, but some people do, and it's a big part of it. Like I would say I don't think I'm that special or anything, but I think that I am one of the rare gay people that thinks that. Like, I think it's very rare to have that mindset. Listen, I don't completely have it, as I stated in my experience before, I don't completely have it, that mindset, but there are some people that actually do have that mindset that are like, I'm never gonna have casual sex.
Do you think there is a huge difference between LGBTIQ community and straight people doing sex, like casual sex encounters? Is there any difference?
I do think there's
do straight people get it off easier somehow to meet someone, to engage in these encounters somehow easily? Or
I do think it's kind of easier in the sense that I mean, it's not easier by numbers because of course LGBT population is much lower in numbers than its, I mean, the other community, the straight, the straight community. And I also feel like that straight people, even though they have it easier in a way that it's socially acceptable for them to even hook up everywhere, of course, without having fear of and causing any problems to themselves. I do feel like it's kind of less popular. I mean, it's just my opinion that it's less popular among heterosexual people because of the viewpoint that the society has on women, especially women, straight women
How are they perceived in society when it comes to casual sex experience? How are women perceived?
I mean, we did come a long way with that. I mean, it's 21st century. Women can do whatever they want and they should do whatever they want with their bodies. But still, there's still like long-term roots of the stigma of women being seen as promiscuous. I mean, I don't think they are, but promiscuous and I don't know. They get slut shame for everything, and hookup culture is no different. I mean, casual sex is no different, especially since men, heterosexual men, tend to like have the locker room talk where they're like, "Oh, I hit that, I fucked that bitch," and like basically objectifying women. And then they feel the need to be like, okay, I'm not going to have that, even though some of them probably want that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they are bound by the society norms and what will other people say.
So basically, we could say that societal stigma and the stereotypic kind of the armors that we are in right now, we have come a long way, but there are still very few fights that we need to fight in order to have our rights as somehow the participants of hookup culture. Me, as a woman, I have had a lot of negative and, if I may say so, really ugly experiences with my casual sex encounters, because when a guy has sex with me, he's just another great buddy who hit like this very hot girl and stuff. But for me, it's more something that I keep quiet. I keep that to myself because there is not a lot of place for me to go outside and talk to other people about the sex I had night before, and I don't even remember the guy's name.
And of course, this is not saying that men are not facing are not objectified.
They are, of course.
They are.
I want to talk about that too.
They are objectified, but I think women have it a lot harder.
Okay.
And I think even the lesbian community is a good way to show that hookup culture, at least in where I live, it's not really popular among lesbians because I mean they do tend to have more deeper and emotional connections rather than just casual sex. I mean, but there are gay women who want to have just that, but it's wrong for a woman to even ask another woman, to even imply to her, "Oh, I just want to fuck you." Like, I don't think that should be wrong, but I feel like many people see it as that way, especially women against women with each other women. They're like, "Oh my God, no."
There are two sides of every story and of every experiences that any of us could have or had in the past time. But what I want to know is, how do we keep safe within our casual sex experiences? There are a few negative psychological and mental health influences. We are aware of that and we discuss them. But are there any like physical negative consequences that we could face after our casual sex encounters? We are aware of STDs and how they develop, and using contraception or unwanted pregnancies with women. But what do you think about that?
I do think that every time you should be safe and careful.
And how do we keep safe?
If you don't have that communication in the beginning with your partner, which is something that is kind of given with casual sex, I mean through conversation about it. Like men should really use condoms, and women should use birth control if they practice that oftenly. Of course, they should be able to be aware of what could possibly happen. I mean, we did mention getting drunk and having sex, that too. So maybe alcohol doesn't help in that way, because it's a risk, because you can actually forget about those type of things. I mean, there's always some other solutions.
And there's the phenomenon that we like to call the stranger danger. We don't always know the people we have sex with.
Exactly. And I mean, that usually happens in many cases. I mean, not many cases. People should usually be aware of that in many cases, because they don't know the other person. Yeah, sure, he or she can be an attractive individual in a club or on the dating apps. But if you really, if you're going to go with them on a parking lot or some strange alley, I would advise not to, because it's a risk. I mean, if you are willing to take that risk, then go for it, of course. And maybe you're going to have a good time. But maybe you're going to have a good time, and then later on, the person will cause more problems, because you never know what the other person can be like. It could be a serial killer. It could be a psychopath. I mean, if you're going to the extremes. But it could just be someone who's maybe gets too obsessed with you, or someone
develops feelings.
Yeah, even. That could be not really ruin your life, but talk shit about you to other people. Oh, she's a whore, or oh, I don't know, he has a loose asshole, or I don't know, look at his flat butt and all that. We put ourselves to be objectified by other people in that sense. Like, there's no mystery to you anymore. You're naked in front of a stranger.
Very exposed.
That stranger, that you're very exposed. That stranger can talk to his friend, and his friend can talk to his friend.
And everyone could know.
Everybody could know what you did. I mean, sure, that's not that shouldn't be a bad thing, but it's seen as a bad thing. Everybody slut shames everybody, and almost everybody has casual sex. I mean, that's really weird to me.
So it's not something that happens rarely. It's actually very common in society for people to have casual sex.
I think so. Yeah, especially today. Yeah, I think it's very common.
So what would your advice be for people who just want to engage in casual sex experiences? How do they keep safe? How could they choose their partners? How do we even know which partner is actually safe and healthy for us?
My advice would be to be the first point that we talked about, be as emotionally stable as you can at that point.
So we need to work on ourselves before we engage in these activities?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay.
In my experience, yes. But I mean, even if you don't feel like that, you should always practice safe sex and be very aware of the problems that we have, the STDs pandemic, of course, I mean, women can get pregnant from someone who is just a stranger at the bar, and that can potentially change their lives for the better or for the worse. I mean, you never know, of course, but it's usually for the worse because it's a stranger. So basically, do your checkups on STDs, do your checkups on your mental health. Love yourself and be comfortable with your body, because I mean, you're just gonna go and be naked in front of a stranger. Might as well be comfortable with it.
And if we don't feel that way, we should first work on that before we do anything
exactly, because you never know. It's still a stranger. Maybe that person doesn't have the understanding for your body image issues that you wish they had. And of course, you should, I don't know, be extra careful with who are you doing that. I mean, at least have some sort of introduction. Have it in a private place. I mean, your place or his or her place. Don't do it maybe in public, in dark alleys, in crowded, maybe in a club.
Don't expose yourself
wish it.
To any risky
I mean, in a club, in dark rooms, of course, I don't know.
Do it in the comfort of your own home if you can.
If you can,
that
of course. Or even if you meet someone at the party, at your friends, if you want to have sex with them, do it. Why not if you feel really comfortable with it? And beware of the consequence of the alcohol there, of course. I mean, you never know what alcohol can lead you to.
Of course. So I do have a few other topics that I would like to discuss with you while I have you here.
Shoot.
These topics kind of remote around regret and the morning after. That's the first topic I want to discuss. We don't have to do it in the long-term discussion. What does regret stand for? Do we regret our casual sex experiences, and how could that impact us on other life activities that we involve in during our everyday lives?
Yes, in my case, which I can only speak from, yes, I have regretted a few times. And what I can tell about that is regret is a specific kind of emotion. You feel a lot of emotions at that point. You feel shame, you feel scared, you feel used. I mean, so if you regret it once, you do it and you regret it once. Or twice, I don't know how many times you need to make that mistake for yourself to learn if it's a mistake, to learn. I mean, I'm talking about if you regret it. If you don't regret it, that's amazing. I mean, not even, you can even, on the other hand, you can regret it, but it can still be a good experience. You had it. I mean, sex is good, usually, of course. So yeah, the morning after, if you feel really good about it, if you want to repeat it with someone else, if you don't ever want to that person again. Of course, there are certain casual sex experiences that are not that good. I mean, we're talking about them like they're amazing, but they're not, of course, all the times. Depending on, it's not so much about the other person. Maybe you just don't sexually match. If you understand me, if two guys are both bottoms, specifically and exclusively bottoms, probably not gonna have that great of a time. Okay. Maybe not gonna have something that they wished for to have. So yeah, maybe that's regret is something that you feel if you didn't have a good experience, in my opinion, in every aspect.
Okay. Regret could be a very harmful emotion for us. It could damage us on very different aspects of our life. It could damage us in the long term. But something even more damaging and hurtful that we could face is actually the phenomenon that we unfortunately like to call the walk of shame. I think that the walk of shame should be very shame-free. It's very stigmatizing and very stereotypical kind of phenomenon that people like to use. It's a term that people like to use to describe everyone coming back to their homes after the night of regret. The night of casual sex. So in your opinion, what is walk of shame, and should it be completely shame-free?
I mean, of course, it's in the name, walk of shame. I mean, I think
there's no shame around it.
I think we should even take away the shame. Just walking.
Just walk back home.
Walking home. Yeah, I mean, I found myself in certain situations where I was like talking to my friends. I had a walk of shame and all that, and I didn't feel ashamed of it, but I think it's the pop culture thing, and it's a phenomenon. It's just a name that people tend to use and not really realize the damage that can do to certain people. I mean,
and it could do a lot of damage.
It's a joke between me and my friends, but to some women and some men, it can be like, oh my God, bitch, you had a walk of shame, and they can feel really bad about it. Maybe they felt good about it, but the society or your friends that don't even mean that can hurt you that way, because I guess everybody's kind of sensitive after the sexual experience or the whole night of fucking, of course. And when you have that quote-unquote walk of shame, I mean, you are really vulnerable in that case. So, like, many friends can, or not just friends, people around you or him or her that you had sex with can maybe ruin it by talking too much. I mean, it's casual sex. You shouldn't talk that much at all.
I couldn't help but wonder that it's somehow very hurting and harmful for our personal freedom that we exist in. It could very much deeply impact our self-confidence and our body image and the way that we perceive ourselves. It could be very damaging for us in terms of personal freedom. What is the most positive casual sex experience that we could have in order to protect our personal freedom, the liberty that we live in? How to safeguard our self-confidence throughout these experiences?
Well, I'll let you know when I find out. I mean, no, it's a really,
you do that.
It's a tricky thing. Yeah. I mean, you can't actually, in my opinion, really guard yourself from that once you are put in that situation. Yeah, you can think straight ahead like, okay, I'm good now. I'm confident. I want to have sex. I am at the right emotional state. I'm safe. I'm going to be safe. I am, the sex is good. The sex went great. Yeah, and all that. But I don't think people go into sexual experiences, especially casual sex, thinking, oh my God, what is going to happen after? Like, oh, we fucked, what's going to happen after?
What comes next?
What comes next? Like, some people might get emotionally attached. Some people might not. Some people might feel disgusted by that person. You never know what goes on in the stranger's head. And then I think everybody thinks about it, gives it 2 or 3 thoughts after sex, of course. I think everybody thinks about it. I mean, it's not just, oh, I had sex, I forgot about it. No, I think everybody kind of...
It kind of sticks with you after.
Your body memorizes it. Your mind also memorizes it. So I guess... everybody gives it a thought or two, and depending on those thoughts, and depending on your way of going about your day or your week after that, that's the real time that it really affects you, in my opinion. I mean, it affects you positively if you're having sex, but after that, I think it then really hits you like, oh my God, I had sex. Oh my God, I feel ashamed. Oh my God, I feel really good. I feel, oh my God, I'm the man. Oh my God, I'm that bitch. I'm the woman. I'm like strong, independent woman, as you should feel about it, of course. But certain things can lead you to thinking negatively about it.
But could casual sex ever lead us to an actual committed relationship?
Yeah.
Could that be a result of casual sex experience?
Yeah. I think we kind of talked about it at the beginning, but we didn't really go into deep with that. Yeah, I think people can actually form a really meaningful relationship after that, because you can, for example, I don't know, you can maybe just be like, it's individual. It's an individual experience. You're like, oh my God, I like this person. Oh my God, this person matches my sexual chemistry. We have good sexual chemistry. Okay, maybe we can try dating, for example. Maybe we can go on 1 date, 2 dates. Of course, maybe we can have casual sex.
It's not unimaginable to have a partner as a result of the casual sex experience.
No.
Okay.
Whether it will be long lasting or not, it's up to those people. But yes, it's possible.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Armin, thank you so much for being a guest with us tonight and for being so open, detailed, and in some cases even a little bit emotional in your explanations of your feelings towards casual sex. I'm very grateful for you sharing your experiences with us, and I genuinely hope that our listeners will have a better understanding of what casual sex is for us humans, how it affects our lives, and the situations in which it might even occur to us. With this notion, we will conclude our first and premiere episode of our Talk Sex to Me podcast, and we will continue to delve further into the pores of human sexuality and all that it may symbolize in our lives and mean to us the next time in our next episode.
Thank you so much for having me again. I had a wonderful time. We both popped our cherry of podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a really nice experience, as casual sex should be. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing it and looking forward to hearing you on your podcast journey and reading your amazing book. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I don't even have to double check.
Thank you very much. I hope too, and I really hope that you could come again on our podcast to be our guest for some next episodes, if you feel like it.
Gladly, of course.
Thank you very much. And for our listeners out there, thank you for listening to us. And please don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram accounts, as well as on our official website, emmasexstore.com. And please read through our blog, since you never know what the next topic might be or when you could be our next guest. Thank you, Armin, for joining us. And we are all eagerly anticipating our next episode. This was your girl, Aida D. Thank you all, and we'll talk about sex again very, very soon.